In MMA, you often hear the best of every style, someone who is a perfect representation of that martial art. A great example would be Wonderboy representing karate. Today we will not only talk about that, but also the worst representation in the UFC, meaning someone who has no skill and is completely incompetent in that field, to the point that you watching this video with 6 months of training off the couch could be better than this fighter in that martial art. Some criteria these fighters have to meet: they have to be a current UFC fighter, and they have to have had at least 5 fights in the UFC. To start off, the best boxer in the UFC, we have Elite Taporia. This one should be an obvious and clear choice. There used to be some debate between Max Holloway or Piotr Jan, but after his recent KO of Max and Volk, I think it's pretty clear. He has incredible footwork. He's able to cut off the cage really well. He can get to you when he wants to. He puts you against the cage. And when he does get you against that cage, he is an absolute problem. He fully commits. He goes in with both feet. He'll eat a shot to land a shot. And that was in his earlier career, though. Nowadays, one thing that is super underrated is his defense. He's able to use the Philly shell. He's able to roll out of punches and get out of trouble. But the biggest thing is when he can use all of his skills to get you where he wants you, if he hits you, you are out. This man has insane power in both of his hands, more than I think Josh Emmett, who a lot of people say has the most power. And this is because Josh Emmett, for example, his big ass clip, his viral clip of him KOing Bryce Mitchell, he's throwing an overhand with literally everything he has in that tank. He's literally lobbing that thing back from behind his hip all the way over. Whereas Elite Taporia can KO you with just a perfectly placed hook. He doesn't need to take unnecessary risks and leave himself open. He can just KO you with pure skill. And I know he didn't KO Josh Emmett, but in that fight, you can see when Josh Emmett goes to load up on those big overhands, Elite counters him with jabs, check hooks, all that stuff. He just pieces him up. And while he did get rocked against Jai Herbert with a head kick, outside of some sequences with Volk, who's one of the best strikers, this guy does not lose boxing exchanges. If you are in the realm of boxing against Elite Taporia, you are absolutely fucked and you will get knocked out. He can do this with anyone in his weight class. Now, on the complete opposite end, the worst boxer in the UFC is Kron Gracie. This guy genuinely has no striking ability whatsoever. Not only does he have no power, his technique is horrible. He just kind of lobs out a few jabs and just waits to either try a takedown and fuck it up or pull guard like he did against Bryce Mitchell, someone who for the most part has no punching power whatsoever and got KO'd. And I know he got KO'd with a slam, he didn't get KO'd with a punch, but still, the fact that Bryce Mitchell, who's primarily a grappler, you have to go out there and pull guard on him because you have no striking, just speaks to how bad you are. There is a clip of him shadowboxing, maybe I'll pull it up. It literally looks like he has 30-pound weights tied to each of his hands. I've never seen someone so stiff, someone just so uncoordinated. He's just not meant to strike. He's not even meant to be in the UFC, first of all, let alone strike with anyone. And this is what I was saying earlier. I swear to God, if you go to any boxing gym, your local MMA gym, any of that, and you train for 6 months, you will be a better boxer than Kron Gracie. The funniest thing is he took 4 years off after losing to Cub Swanson to work on his boxing, improve all that, and it didn't get better at all. Jourdain pieced him up, and then Mitchell fucking pieced him up too. The best wrestler in the UFC is clearly, to me, Khamzat Chimaev. Some people might say Islam, some people might say Arman. But the thing is, Khamzat could go out there against Aaron Brooks, some Olympic level wrestler, and want to know the first thing you do? He would shoot a takedown on him. No other person in the UFC enforces their game plan and enforces their style like Khamzat Chimaev. And want to know what's crazy? He's perfect at it and he cannot be stopped. Before that fight with Usman had been taken down 1 time by Leon Edwards, which was a fake takedown, really. It was a trip. Had a 97% takedown, defended 50 minutes of takedowns from Colby Covington, who gets hate now, but he's still a good wrestler. Some crazy ones from Damian Maia. Want to know how Khamzat did? He just ragdolled out there. He made it look easy. And I know he gassed and then got pieced up on the feet a little bit, but that doesn't change the fact that he could get Usman down basically at will. And against a great defensive wrestler like fucking Robert Whittaker, he went out there, shoots across the cage. He was damn near belly down, still gets that takedown. Obviously, he went on to submit him. But Khamzat's just got ridiculous intensity mixed with great technique. He's just different. He just has a killer aura to him. I truly believe he could just take down whoever he wants at some point in the fight. Now, he might gas out after, but if Khamzat wants you down, you're just going down, man. What can I say? As for the worst wrestler in the UFC, it's going to be Derek Lewis. And I know this guy's a fan favorite and all that, but this guy just gets taken down at will most of the time. And the only thing that stops him, by the way, from getting takedown is the fact that he's just a giant dude and a physical freak. He has no wrestling technique whatsoever. And please, before you start saying, oh, he just gets up, the get up jiu-jitsu, the reason why he has to use that bullshit black magic get up jiu-jitsu is because he gets taken down. This dude's been taken down almost 50 times in the UFC by almost everyone he's fought, to be honest. Anybody that's skilled whatsoever in wrestling is getting this guy down. And the only reason why you haven't seen more of that is because the heavyweight division is just a bunch of fucking blobs. It's a bunch of fat retards who don't really know what they're doing for the most part. Like any real grappler, you know what I'm saying? Like a Jailton Almeida, dude, got this dude down so many times. He had 20 minutes of control time. And maybe that speaks to Derek Lewis's jiu-jitsu. I've never seen someone have your back for 20 minutes and not get submitted. But still, he was just getting bullied out there. And at points, he tried to take Jailton down, which was just fucking retarded, got reversed. You know, against DC, DC literally made this guy look like he'd never even heard of wrestling, which maybe Derek Lewis hasn't. Derek Lewis's big saving grace, too, against taking down, is just trying to knock the dude out, which I guess works, you know what I'm saying? Worked against Curtis Blades. But in the pure wrestling department, there isn't a guy worse than this, you know what I'm saying? Like Sergey Spivak looked like Jordan Burroughs against Derek Lewis. This shit's ridiculous. If he didn't have his physical crazy gifts, you know what I'm saying, like his insane KO power and size, if he had a build like Marcin Tybura, he would be taken down in every single one of his fights by anyone, even if they have no wrestling background whatsoever. Listen, I love Derek Lewis like everyone else, but he is undoubtedly the least skilled wrestler and the worst wrestler in the UFC. The best kickboxer in the UFC, to the surprise of no one, should be Alex Pereira. You already hear it, but I just got to bring it up again. His calf kicks, they're not telegraphed whatsoever. No one can ever check them because they never see them coming. Like Izzy talking about in the second fight, he knew he was going to go in there and get calf kicked. He had all these game plans to stop it, and then he couldn't. They were coming in so quick. They were coming in so powerful. There's nothing he could do about it. Not only his kicks, but he has great boxing with, you know, insane finishing power. Everyone knows that left hook, but he uses those leg kicks perfect. You know what I'm saying? He gets you immobilized. He gets you sitting there. Then he can start teeing off with you. You know, Alex Pereira has no grappling offensively whatsoever, so he's a champion and a dominant champion at that, just with pure stand-up. I mean, that's the perfect representation of a kickboxer. Not only that, he can knock you out with anything. He can knock you out with flying knees, with left hooks, with head kicks like Yuri. In the stand-up, this guy's tool bag is so deep that no one can compete with him. You know what I'm saying? Ankalaev's only hope, I don't think Ankalaev's going to win, but his only hope is grappling. We've seen the meme before, you know, all these guys saying they're going to stand up with Alex Pereira. If Magomed truly stands up with Alex Pereira, he is going to get stretchered out. He is going to get fucking knocked out. Now, the complete opposite, the worst kickboxer in the UFC is Ryan Hall. Again, with the striking, another one of these jiu-jitsu fucking wizards, quote unquote, who can't do shit because they are so one-dimensional. He has no ability to strike. Hold up. If you're driving or listening to this in the background, just take a second and look at this dude's build. This is the build of a math teacher of a Discord mod who beats off to anime waifu. I mean, you can already just see this guy has no physical abilities whatsoever. Not only that, he has horrible technique. Not only can he not land anything, he can't even hurt anybody if he was, so there's no threat. This dude is so bad that against Gray Maynard, he was purposely missing kicks to try and get the fight on the ground. He would throw a kick that he knew would miss, pretend to slip and fall, hoping that Maynard would just jump on top of him, and then he could try and work his jiu-jitsu magic or whatever. This guy's best offensive move is a fucking Imanari roll, bro. This dude has no stand-up whatsoever. I'm being so serious when I say this. I swear to God, I believe this. If you put this dude in a Muay Thai fight against Zhang Wei Li, she will knock him out, bro. I don't care that he weighs 30 pounds more and that he's a guy, he's bigger than, I don't give a shit. This dude has no ability whatsoever. If you're ever feeling down about yourself, you know, you think you can never be an athlete, just look up to this guy, I guess. He's in the UFC with all this shit. Now, for the best jiu-jitsu in the UFC, this one's going to be Charles Oliveira. I think it's pretty obvious. I know some people are going to say Paul Craig because, like, technically, nah, come on now, stop it. All that dude has is the triangle when he's getting his ass kicked. The opposite is Oliveira. Not only does he have the most submissions ever, he can actually use his jiu-jitsu offensively. Like, technically on paper, these guys like Kron Gracie and Ryan Hall, they have better technical jiu-jitsu, but in MMA, that shit doesn't work. You have to be able to enforce it, and Charles Oliveira is the perfect example. Triangle, arm bars, standing rear naked chokes, guillotines, whatever. This dude has it. And as much as people don't like to admit this, he almost had Arman Tsuyuki dead in that guillotine. And if Arman doesn't fucking pants himself, who knows? Maybe he gets submitted, maybe he doesn't. But still, no one has the speed and the skill of this guy. He will throw up a submission in 1 second if he catches you out of position. Not only that, he has a huge variety of submissions, so he can kind of catch you anywhere on the ground. The only person he couldn't really do this was Islam, and that's because Islam's wrestling is so good, he couldn't get into the positions he even wanted to use his jiu-jitsu. Anybody who's unbiased, though, should know if Charles and Islam got into a jiu-jitsu fight, Charles would win, for sure. 100 times out of 100. Back in the day, he got submitted a couple times. That was all from getting rocked on the feet or just kind of giving up. And that's the same thing with Islam. Islam only submitted him in that triangle because he had already dropped Charles. Charles was disorientated. And frankly, in that fight, he didn't even look like he wanted to be there. He looked like he just knew Islam was the better fighter. But besides all that, Charles is still the best jiu-jitsu artist in the UFC. As for the worst jiu-jitsu in the UFC, this one was the hardest one because every fighter, including fucking Derek Lewis, has some level of jiu-jitsu. Like, no one in the UFC is just completely incompetent when it comes to jiu-jitsu, but I'll go with Edson Barboza. Despite having 30 fights in the UFC, he hasn't had one submission win, nor do I think he was ever close to a submission. Once you get him on the ground, it's relatively easy to submit him, but even if you can't submit him, you can get big damage off him by getting into good positions. You saw this with Khabib, obviously. Khabib just fucking ragdolled him, but you even saw this with Bryce Mitchell, a guy who isn't known from damage. He cut Barboza up on the ground. Not only this, but I'm throwing him in here because his style just leads to getting taken down. He throws so many kicks, and I know they're crazy, I know they're vicious, but people catch them, people go in on that, they can take him down. And once he's on the ground, not only does he have no offensive submission threats whatsoever, he's pretty much, for such a good fighter, he's pretty much a cakewalk on the ground. You know, for the other ones, there's a pretty obvious one. This one I was scraping in the bottom of the barrel. Like, if you train for 6 months jiu-jitsu, you're not going to be better than Edson Barboza in all likelihood. But still, not good. All right, that's going to be the video. I thought I'd do this one because I never see people talk about some shitters in the UFC who, frankly, are just not skilled at all. Comment any video ideas if you want one. I got another video already ready to drop, so. But I'm more than happy to make what people want to see. So anyway, thank you for watching. It's John Does MMA.